Welcome back to the Davy Brown 990 Restoration channel. My name is Barry for those of you that's new. Today we're going to be reassembling the valve chest. We're going to put all the components back inside of it, get it sorted out. I'm not going to set up the clearances today, but I'll explain what clearances we're looking for and we'll do those in the next video. In the freezer is the two caps for valves 1 and 2, which is the bypass and the hold. Remember, we knocked the caps out the bottom, so they've got to go back in to help that go in because they are tight. I think they're a little bit more than an interference fit. So to help that go in, we've got in our pan here. We've got our valve chest cooking away nicely. Remember the old engine oil coming to this engine? Ran for about 5 or 10 minutes. And we thought it possibly had a bit of diesel in it. Instead of cooking it in water like we said we're going to do in tin foil, I thought, you know, why not just use the old oil? And then you got no fear of anything going rusty or whatever inside while it's sitting for the tractor to come back together. Okay, let's get set up. Let's get on with it, eh? Back in a minute. Number 2. So, this is valve number 2, this is the hold valve. This one here is the bypass valve, because there's the hole for the bypass oil. Right, O-ring was down in the bottom, like that. Got our plug, just give it a wipe to take the frost off it. We've got our little 603. Tiny little bit on there. Pop that into there. Got our socket and our soft-faced hammer, and there we go. Right, I want that in just a touch. There we go. Now I want to put the circlip, no, a bit further, Barry, a bit further. Now I'm going to pop the circlip in, and I'm going to knock this in until the circlip drops into the groove. That's it. That's in the groove. One little tap, and that's that plug back in. Now, because my circlip's short, I'm going to pinch that circlip back out of there. Because I need it to go into this one. The reason why I put that one in first is because there's no spring tension on that. That's where the dump valve goes. And all I'm going to do is put the dump valve in without the spring today to stop dirt getting in. Give that a wipe. You can hear that sizzling. Right, 603 on this cap. Okay. Pop this one in. This, oh, that's nearly fallen straight through that one. give it a little tap. Right, put the clip back in. Is that in? No, it's not in yet. That's it, it's in there. Right. That's what 2 plugs back in, and I must admit, that was easier. Oh, look at me camera's away to jiggery pokery here. Both the plugs back in. As I say, this one hasn't got a circlip in, but there's no spring pressure. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to wrap that up in a cloth. We'll give it a little while, come up to room temperature, and then we'll sort it out. Back in a minute. So we've cooled enough now. We're going to do the bypass valve first. What do we need for our bypass valve? A new bit. We need a spring. We need the appropriate brass choke nut. We need our insert, and we need our cap with our brand new Doughty washer on. We're going to be very careful and not lose any parts. I'm going to take our little end. No, we're going to take our insert, our valve. I'm going to pop. Does that matter which way that goes in? I don't think it does it? I'm going to pop that down in the hole, right at the bottom. We're going to pop our retainer in on top of it. I'm going to put our brass screw down. Up, aye, go on, that'll not matter. Put our brass screw down. And nip it. Loads of oil. This is our lovely EP90. Pop that in. Loads of oil down the hole. A spring in. And that's my new Doughty washer. I've dressed this nut up a little bit, but you can't do an awful lot when somebody's been at it with a bloody hammer and chisel, can you? Nice and tight. Right. Loads and loads of oil. I love loads of oil in it. Okay. Now, number 2. Yep. Everything's nice and clean down there. What I'm going to do with this is put that in there. Like that. You see it sink under its own weight. I'm not going to put them back in at the moment. I'm going to wait until this is all back in the tractor. Then I'll be able to pop the ball in and the retainer and then the spring and the dump valve straight on top. Keep it under control so we don't lose it again. Okay, now we've got our relief valve. What we've got here, we've got a cap, a spring. I wonder. Stuart has sent me the spring for the relief valve, not the TCU. So we'll use that spring in here. So let's carry on with our bits. What have we got? An aluminium retainer. We've got a seat, one shim, two shims, and a needle. And I've also got here a tiny little bolt. That bag's totally empty now. Tiny little bolt and a washer which blanks off that little hole there. I took that out when I was stripping it, thinking that I could get access to things that were stuck. So, first down the hole is oil. Loads of oil in. A little aluminium restrictor down in the bottom. Bit more oil. The seats had a clean, and I ran a bit of grinding paste. I popped that in a drill and I ran a bit of grinding paste to lap them together, and they are sealing beautifully. So now that goes down the hole. There we go. Now we have the two shims go down on top of that. One, two. Now a little needle goes into a spring and drops straight out. There we go, into there. Our cap, touch of oil, everything recording, yep. Down to hit those shims. Get a little spanner for that before we forget. Okay. Okay. Next one. Valve number 4 in our scheme of things, which was the latch valve right on the front. Valve number 4, and we have here our cap, our little spool that's had a polish, and our little spring. So, loads of oil in the hole. Just get a needle nose pliers instead of having my fat hand in the way. I can see in this spool here, oil from here pumping through that hole when I put that in. Right. Loads and loads of oil. Can I whack it? I was going to do this in the sit room, but I think Deb would have given us wrong if I'd spilled some oil on the floor. Do you think? Okay, what we've got left, we've got a spool valve, and we've got what diddly doos here. Right. Lowering rate spool. This was the little devil that was stuck. We've got one spool there, my cap and my spring. Again, this has had, what I've done with these, I have used Scotch-Brite with a bit of Brasso and give them a good, just a light polish. Over oil can so we can see it. Pop that into there. Loads of oil in there. Spilling. Got oil all over the place. But there again, had enough of rusty things, haven't we? Fill the cap. Okay. Right, I'm going to just put in my needle. Just to save a bit of mess. I want to thread that into there. Touch of oil on it. Not that it needs it because there's that much oil kicking about in there. Okay. That's that done. We have got the non-return valve for here. Doughty washer. That one. Replace the doughty washer with that. Non-return valve again. Had a clean. Loads of oil. Nice and easy. Fill all that up with oil. Spring into it. A new doughty washer. Fill a cap. again. Let's get one adjustable. A nice metric one. This will all get a second check just before we'll go back together, all together. Okay, now we're getting there. Right, TCU valve. TCU valve. Now then, there's the old ball in there. So what we've got here, this is, the spring hasn't arrived yet, okay? So I'm just going to pop it back together temporarily just for this video so you can see it going back together the way it came to me. So we have the insert, we have the spring that I'm waiting for to come up, that goes in. Put a squidge of oil into there, push that down. Now on top of that was this tiny little spacer, and I thought that was the top coil off the spring. I thought the spring had snapped, but it hadn't. And then the ball sits on there. Right, now loads of oil. That's going to go in there like that. Now the retainer, as I say, I'm not going to do this uptight. I'm not going to set this today. But when we do come to set it, which will not be that long away, what we do, put a dial test indicator on the end of here. There has to be free float up and down of between 0.9 and 1 millimeter on this, and no compression on the spring at all at that point. When you've got it there, you then center pop the thread here to lock it. So that's 1 millimeter free end float. I'm just going to leave that hand tight like that for the moment. Last bit, the spool valve. Now this is important, this bit. This is the tricky bit. One spool valve, one spring. Two nuts, one washer. Bag's empty, all the bits are there. Right, on the end of here, right, and I can just see it. It's got a 2 etched just here. Now on the bottom of this cap is etched a number normally between 97 and 104. That is the rise in thous, or the travel, that is the travel in thousandths of an inch that this spool valve is to have when it is in and set properly. So again, what you do is you pop it in, get your springs on, put a DTI on the end, push it right in, zero it. It can only cut the reverse travel out, can only be, for mine, 102 thou plus 1 thou. So this will only be allowed to travel 103 thou, 0.103. of an inch, and then it's set correctly. So let's have a look. Getting loads of oil. Kind of gone wrong with oil at this stage. Just got to clean the mess up, that's all. Pop the spring on, big end up. Right, then we want what? Washer on. First door lock nuts. Second door lock nuts on. Right, that's working. That's working, I can feel that working. So we just need to wipe our hands. Right, so that's it, done. Fill things up with oil here. And okay. Now I did notice a little bend in that shaft. See it? Can you see it? Here, it's bent here. So I think we will pull that out at a future date and have a go at just tapping it straight. I think what's happened is, in its history, it's been in the valve like that, and the valves get knocked over. I've seen pictures of them where people is working on them with that still in. The only reason I put it in is to stop the oil pouring out of here. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't like to store it like that for that very reason. Right, final part of the jigsaw, just to stop the dirt getting in. And that's all this is, just to stop the dirt getting in, nothing more. As I say, we've still got the internals to go in. I'm just giving that a rub at and make sure that it is covered in oil. It's been kept in a bag, nice and clean. Okay, that's it. Let's have a quick spruce up here. See what kind of 25 minutes that's took though, isn't it? Right. Right, well that's it. My valve chest all back together. Spools travelling. Where's my little TCU bit? Oh, yep. TCU moving, which is a lot better than it was when it came to her, because it was in dire straits when it came to her, wasn't it? Everything was just about stopped solid. Everything was latched up. So, as I say, those numbers on the bottom of your spool, have a look for those numbers before you start wire brushing. I didn't know they were there It was Campbell down in New Zealand who said, have a look on the bottom of your spool, 3 numbers, that's if you haven't polished them off yet. Luckily, you can see the damage, the wear on the bottom of my spool, but the number 2's there. Now I know the range is between 97 thou and 104 thou, so it's got to be 102, hasn't it? So that's what it is. Right, the next video will be setting up the travel on the spool valve and the TCU valve once the spring arrives from Stuart at Barclay Williams. I will ring Stuart when that spring arrives and offer to pay for it, because that one is obviously the new spring for the pressure relief valve. So as I say, next video we'll be clocking that up. It will be reassembling it to the selector, and it will be setting the clearances for the little, is it the rock arm that comes up underneath here and controls those 2 spools. So what we'll do then is, once it's reassembled and set up, we will pop this in the tractor, we'll pop the dump valve plate back over the top, we'll put our dump valve in, job's done, that's it. It'll be sealed up and finished, and it'll be inside, done. Right, well, as I say, if you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe to it, tell your mates. It really, really does help the channel out tremendously if you just give us a thumbs up. Costs you guys nothing. And as always guys, I really do appreciate all of your support. Love reading your comments. A lot of useful information comes across in those comments, so please keep them coming. We do try to answer every single one. If you email us, it might be a day or 2 before we get back to you, because I don't always go into my Gmail account. I do when I'm on the computer, but I'm not always on the computer every day. Right guys, as I say, that's it. Thank you very much. Remember, don't overthink it. It's just nuts and bolts. See you in the next one. Take care now. Stay safe. Bye.